Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Smite Pro League North America. My name is hi-rez. Joining me today and all other days for the next 2 weeks is the one and only hi-rez Drybear. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Our first game this evening is going to be Thurst versus Snipe.
Thurst versus Snipe, the first time they've played this week, and we'll see exactly how thirsty they are with that ratchet play coming out. But Snipe, of course, a team that, well, I mean, that's exactly it, right? I mean, 5 Angry Men was the source, ended up losing a couple players there, and of course, before that was a piece of denial that made 5 Angry Men. Rush is still on that lineup there. We're sorry, Rush over on.
You know, there's a lot of denial if you have Wolfie on your team.
That's right.
I'm just
let it sink. Hold on, let it simmer.
Yeah.
Let it simmer.
Let it burn.
I'll give it to them. So, of course, Thurst and Snipe together. Snipe, actually, interestingly enough, has performed to a very high level. I mean, obviously, in the NA Pro League kickoff lane, they did not make it to the grand finals, but statistically, Weekend and Allied were very high, actually above 50%, even though they actually lost 2 matches and won 1. So, eyes are on Weekend to see if he can do the same kind of performance. The same thing goes for Allied.
Yeah, Allied, definitely a long-time player. And Snipe, a team that's been together for some time. In fact, Wolfie used to be on that team. You look at the rest of Thurst.
What team hasn't been on?
That's right. But you look at the rest of Thurst, not a lot of names that you've seen before, unless if you've been following only the top teams of Smite. El Brochacho, Fusion OP, Jacob Malfoy, and Nantine, all very, very highly ranked players, and all players that came from either top-ranked teams from other game modes, or, you know, kind of 8th through 6th place teams in Conquest now, in that 6th spot coming into North America. Our band's already starting to come out. It's going to be Chalk, Loki, banned out by Snipe, Thurst taking away Nuwa and Cirquette, and with Loki banned and Mercury available, that should be your first pick from Snipe, unless they value something like a Zhang Kui, who's been another very popular pick. We'll see what they do go with, and it is going to be the large man from China.
There it is, predicting the future. Zhang Kui locked in. That does leave Mercury available. That leaves Geb and Athena available as well. We've seen Aphrodite is still available. That worked very well the last game of the EU Pro League earlier today. So we'll see what they decide to go with on the side of Thurst. But Zhang Kui locked in pretty heavily here. Now they do have Kiki on their team. We'll see if he wants to go for that himself. We know Derby likes to make some very strange picks in the mid lane as well. Maybe he'll get to see his Vulcan today if his team permits it. Across the way, they're going to make 2 selections on the side of Thurst. They're hovering currently on the Ra, possibly, and an Apollo. There's the Apollo locked in and completed. Next selection, it looks like it's going to be Ra there. So Ra and Apollo locked in for Thurst. Now, did they make a support selection here on Snipe? We've seen that as a big trend last month, but actually in the last 24 hours, they've kind of been letting the support go.
Yeah, it seems like teams are perfectly happy to let Geb and Athena just right on through.
Geb's so good, though.
And we're going to see a super early pick of Uller there and Geb. Uller was banned out in the game earlier today in Europe, so teams starting to favor him more and more for his late game in-hand damage, and Geb, of course, strong through pretty much all stages of the game.
He's such an amazing character. That CC removal plus the shield plus the interruption plus the mobility. I mean, easily the best support in the game right now, I personally believe, and I think that picking him up at this stage in the game is a great pickup for Snipe. Across the way, they may go for a jungler, they may go for a mid laner, depending on how they go. You don't know where Zhang Kui is going just yet, but I imagine he will go to the solo, especially up against a character like the Ra. Nemesis locked in here for Thurst. That will be their jungler. Across the way, no jungle for Snipe, so I imagine Thurst will be banning a jungle here, something like a Thor, something like a Hoon Bots possibly, or maybe even go for the mid laner.
Yeah, it's tough to say here. I mean, as the bans start coming through, Giannis taken out of the pool. Kind of surprising because we don't know that Jerby really a player that practices that god, but a final ban remaining for the boys over on Snipe. Looking at the team here that Thurst has put together, looks like their soul lane or the jungler are pretty well squared out. I would expect an Athena ban. That would be the classic ban in the situation, forcing them into the Bacchus, or even the Amir pick. But you might see a ban of a solo laner here, potentially. But with the ban already coming out on the Chalk, looks like they already know what they want to go for in the soul lane. It is going to be Athena taken out of the pool. So Thurst going to be needing to look to pick up some CC and tankiness somewhere else in their draft.
Yeah, it's a see you later to Athena there, being banned out now. First pick, of course, after the second banning phase goes to Thurst. Jacob Malfoy making that selection. They've got a jungler, they've got a hunter, and they've got I would imagine a solo, but could also be a mid laner depending on how they want to spin it. So they still have to make a guardian choice and a mid lane choice, depending on what they want to go with here. It looks like they're actually going to be hovering on Sun Wukong and locking him. Wow. I would imagine this would actually be a support pick, but one we haven't seen for a very long time.
It's gonna be Wolfie in the jungle with that nonsense, and they're going to put
so?
in the support. He loves that god.
That's true.
He loves Sun Wukong. No, it should be the support. And Sun Wukong, a god that a lot of teams and a lot of top level players talking about as a very, very strong and
he's a lot better than he
viable support. That's right. Well, not used to be, but
most recently used to be.
That's right. That's right. He was really strong, and then was a little bit weaker, and then is in a pretty decent spot right now.
Well,
but no team is really committed to picking him yet.
Now what happened was we changed the Master's Will to have a shorter cooldown and have higher damage. So basically, by maxing that ability first, you can actually do a lot.
Static mana cost.
Right, yeah, so it costs less mana, of course, and has the increase on damage a little bit. So actually maxing out the Master's Will first over the Jingu Bang is actually proving to be a little bit more effective. Across the way, we've got Isis and Ull, Isis and Mercury together. We can grab up the Mercury instantly.
Last pick Mercury?
Across the way, they're going with Chronos, though. This has got to be mid. I actually love mid Chronos.
Mid Chronos can be very effective.
I love mid Chronos.
I mean, it's tough to gank, really.
It is.
I mean, that's what it comes down to, especially if he just gets up beads too. Basically, it's very, very hard to gank. So you'll likely have Ra in the solo lane. You'll have Chronos taking over the mid. Sun Wukong supporting that Apollo, and then you'll have Nemesis likely in the jungle. Looking at the gods that are playing them, indeed, that is what you will see. So will be Wolfie taking that Nemesis jungle, although he so desperately, I'm sure, wanted the Sun Wukong.
So it looks like it's going to be Sun Wukong Apollo here coming up against a Geb Ull. That is one fine and difficult lineup to go up against, especially with the Geb. Of course, the slow or the meds will be removable by the Geb if it puts the shield on top of it. Any damage they do. I mean, that's why you run a warrior or assassin support, is it allows you to get the kills early, especially like a Naja. Naja support works well. The second level 5, you can sash, you can ult. The hunter can combo when they land to the ground if they have some kind of knock-up or slow or stun, and that's what you really use it for. But Geb kind of counters a lot of that with the shield and the disruption of the ultimate itself, plus the shockwave. I mean, I don't know if Nemesis is going to work. I'm sorry, I don't know if Sun Wukong is going to be as strong here.
Well, let's take a look at Snipe here, and a lot of it's going to come down to the captain there in the middle, Incontinentia as their guardian, Jerby in the mid, Kiki, solo, Allied Hunter, and Weekend Jungle. But looking at Incon there, it's going to come down a lot to him because Sun Wukong does have those two very powerful CCs, one of them hard, one of them soft, right? Cat Stun is likely what you're going to see purged, but then he has the slow to follow it up with the shield active, and that's so it's going to come down a lot, I think, in the laning phase, in the dual lane. Look for how Elbro Chacho on the Sun Wukong and Incontinentia's Geb, how they're kind of staggering those abilities and who's going to get the better of it. And if you're Snipe, you got to be feeling pretty good that it's on the back of your captain Incon.
Well, I think the biggest benefit of the Sun Wukong pick as well is the fact that they're going to be able to heal him up. But I want to look a little bit at Thurst, speaking of the Sun Wukong pick, and see exactly who's lining up here. Now, of course, there's remnants of the 5-area men team. It's going to be Fusion OP in the solo lane, Jaco Malfoy running that mid. Wolfie 2032, of course, just Wolfie, friendly streamer, friendly neighborhood streamer, and also one of the old members of the 5-area men. And Snipe, actually, one of his old teams that he's going up against. Nanton and Elbow Chacho. Elbow Chacho's been around for a very long time and actually played on a, the mid-level teams very consistently, now making his debut into the Smite Pro League. Got to be very, very content about that fact. But you can see them all lined up here. The Shadow League will be entering here onto your screen. Thurst making their first debut for the week. Same thing goes for Snipe. So, who's going to record a win and who's going to record a loss for their first matchup of the week?
Who knows? Do you have any players in your fantasy team on these teams?
I don't.
I have Incon as my support.
Oh, boy.
I'm looking forward to a big game for Incon.
I don't have support.
That's tough. But hey, 20 games from now, you may still have supports left where other people don't.
That's right. So. There you go. Hey, who knows? There's a lot of supports to pick from, though. Supports are pretty deep pool as it looks at. Yeah, that's right. I mean, we saw, of course, Ionic performing very well
every
this week.
pool is the same amount of depth.
Not necessarily.
Well, it's the same amount of players.
Same amount of depth, but it's, I mean, there are parts of the pool that you never want to touch.
That's right. That's true. Yes. And the support role, there's a lot of good support players. Considering that you don't expect them to get too much, you're really looking for the least amount of deaths.
Definitely.
In that support role. And for your fantasy team, a little fantasy strategy for you. And Incon, one of the least dying supports in the game. Only second to Badger, but Badger had about 10 less games played. So
that's true. One thing I do want to look at a little bit is going to be this Chronos pick, and I'm very excited to see Chronos being played. I think he's a lot stronger than people give him credit for. We actually talked about this in a meeting the other day about that Chronos is too strong, too weak. People complain about how he's very, very powerful.
Oh, he's a hyper carry,
right?
Especially in the 1v1 scenario. That's that's where you see most of the kind of uproar from the community, if you will, is that in the Joust League, Chronos is very hard to deal with because he's very fast, he has good CC, he's high burst, he has sustain.
And he's late game carry.
He's late game carry, he can dodge your towers, he's got all the things.
Yep.
When it comes to the 1v1, but he does.
One of the biggest things about his ultimate as well, it's one of those ultimates, kind of like Sun Wukong's ultimate in the way that you initiate on him, and he counters that by rewinding all the damage, and all of a sudden, you've reset all the business going on there. But we're in the match, guys. We're going to cover our teams, who's playing what, and where they're going. The bottom side of the map is going to be the green grass Snipe. We've got Jerby on Isis, Weekend in the jungle with Mercury, Allied playing Ull, Incontinentia on Geb, and we got John Quay played by Kiki.
Oh, Kiki the Chunk. Or no, it's Kiki or Nah. Their opponents today will be Thurst, wearing the red trunks, fighting out of the top side of the minimap and the right side of your spectator UI. It's going to be Nantan matching up with Elbro Chacho, as we have a little bit of initiation coming out. 3-man stun as well. A lot of trouble with Fusion OP. Down he will go. The Chrono Stun's going to hit several. Weekend and Incon both very low. Wolfie in an awkward position as well. Jerby taking a lot of damage. Bro Chacho staying in there. Some Wukong can find a lot here, but no, he's going to fall as well. As Snipe does a great job of juggling the aggro. One more in-hand will do it for shot. Does he have an ability available? No, going back in is Nantan. Nantan to fall. Nantan to go down. The Gem Shield doing so much work here. No, sorry, actually had the knock up there, but that's 3 early and easy kills for Snipe.
Oh my god!
We have a serious fight going on. Let's finish introducing the teams and go into the analysis there. Wolfie will be your jungler on Nemesis. Nantan and Elbro Chacho will be your dual lane on Apollo and Sun Wukong. Jacob Malfoy will be your solo lane Ra, and it'll be Fusion OP in the mid lane as... No, I'm sorry. Fusion OP in the solo lane as Kronos, and Jacob Malfoy in the mid lane as Ra.
Let's talk that fight. And Continentia got 2 kills there. And most people would say...
My fantasy points!
Why are you getting kills in the support? People would say, you know, why in the world... And there's 2 points to that, right? Number 1, in that kind of scenario, you don't really care who gets the kills. You just want the kills to happen. And number 2, putting gold on your support early on means they're free to roam a lot more, and actually beneficial to get a lot of gold starting out on the support, and that means that the hunter can then sit in the lane longer and for safer periods and actually do that. You see Weekend and Kiki going up on the top side. They're going to skip the blue buff with a ward and go into lane here. Smart call from Wolfie and Fusion, but it looks like they're going to be losing their blue buff. Hog came out there a little bit early from Weekend and Kiki. The blue buff will go down, and they're going to lose their blue buff over there after giving up the first blood. But, you know, what was so great about that fight, Bart, is the fact that Snipe did a great job of spreading out the damage and making sure no person took
right
too much.
Side, if there's CC coming out, could be some trouble here.
Mercury.
That. No, Weekend's going to be able to get out of there. A-OK, Kiki or not as well.
Oh, nice body block by Wolfie, forcing him out of the fight here. The Magula goes back. He misses the card. He's so flustered and takes a time rift right to the boot, and he will be standing on his tower. Very much weakened here, pun intended.
Hey-o.
And he's going to be standing back.
This is going to be hard because I know that that Wolfie, you know, is a very emotional style player, and an early disadvantage is not something that he is too fond of. But they will be able to pick up the enemy's blue buff here. It looks like Weekend and Kiki or not are interested in contesting this, though. Let's see what's going to come of it. Wolfie getting fairly low here. Need to be kind of careful. No, they're going to be able to secure that for Fusion OP. Their blue buff, of course, was stolen earlier by Kiki. He's going to get stunned out, take some damage from the Kronos. First trouble. Wolfie dashing away as Jerby rotates over. Could be a big spirit ball for Wolfie. No. Wolfie is smartly going to take a route that makes that almost impossible to hit. And it looks like Ally has DC'd out of the game, so we're going to have a pause coming out here shortly. As you see, Jerby stop in the middle of the jungle for no reason. And there you go. So we do have a very early lead here for Snipe Gaming. Let's take a look wait, can I take a look at that? I can. 1,000 gold, 1,100 gold, and the experience has actually been recouped fairly well by Thurst at this point, but that gold, and more importantly on Continentia, as you mentioned. But we'll get into that in a little bit here. We do have a replay available of that, well, I guess first scrum there, if you will.
Scrum's a good word for it.
We'll take a look at it as the teams go head-to-head. So Incon gets all 5 members with that knock-up into a 3-man Spirit Ball, and look at the way that Snipe is able to juggle the aggro, if you will, here. They just keep on changing out who's in the front line.
They split the
targets. And they keep on baiting Thurst into trying to get these kills. And at this point, you know, you see the Apollo re-engage for Nantan, and he's just going to give his life away trying to find these kills. Mercury's going to throw him back, and here he realizes he's pretty much boned, tries to throw out the damage it can, but down he will go. And Incon with a double kill on the back of that. So as you mentioned, he has this extra gold, and that's a great thing because your support can run more.
Yes.
Another thing you can do with this kind of early start is if you take a look at Incon, he does have the shoes already purchased. He can actually, looking at his in-hand gold, 633. So he can actually, already with his Hog 2, which he just purchased, he can sell that Watcher's Gift and buy Midas Boots out at like 2 minutes, 15 seconds, basically. And which is a strategy that you've seen done. It gets you a Midas Boost about 90 seconds earlier. Watcher's Gift only works out to about 24 GPM if you're getting every last hit. So Watcher's Gift is not
12 to 30
tremendously
right.
It's not tremendously efficient. So by selling that item going to fast Midas Boots, you get the even higher spooling. Look for that on Incon in this game.
We'll see what he decides to do. I mean, obviously he's going to start roaming more, and depending on what he buys, he'll change his playstyle up a bit. But let's go ahead and bring it right back into the game as the pause has concluded here. Welcome back to the match. If you just joined us, of course, we're watching Snipe versus Thurst, the first game of the NA Pro League for today. We have one match coming up after this one. It's going to be at 8:30, of course, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, which is about 45 minutes or so as we continue on with this match here. Lead definitely goes to Snipe in the beginning, coming out very strong, but the experience is actually shifting the way of Thurst, which is very valuable, right? The gold early on Incon, split between 5 people, is going to come down to about 250, 260 gold per person. It's not really all that great, but it does allow you to buy more wards here. Rotating left side, we're going to see Incon throwing Elbow Chacho into the wall. Nonton taking major harassment from Allied. Allied actually going to be the top player damage on his team, and it looks like he's also going to be the top player damage in the game, just a little bit above Nonton, though. So the Hunter's taking a lot of harassment damage. Right side Kiki is having major troubles here up against Fusion. Level 4 versus level 5, a very serious experience differential between the two. Kiki now taking a lot of harassment as Kronos goes through, which this is more damning than it would probably see him on the front end, mainly because Kronos, like we were saying, is a very late game character who doesn't have a strong laning phase for the first 5 levels. So if he's able to win that weak part of his laning phase, it makes him that much stronger going forward.
Yeah, I mean, he does have the death to his name from that early engagement there, and Kiki does have the early kill plus the 2 assists as well. So I would say that Fusion is winning this lane, but he is still, basically. Let's actually take a look at exactly what it is. 2,700 gold, 26. He's still behind a little bit in gold. He's done a pretty good job. He's winning this lane, but he's behind overall due to that tough start for him.
Clear the wave out here as it does meet on up. Looks like going over to the jungle. Wolfie going to be heading on home here to see what he decides to pick up. Most likely boots too, and that's exactly what it is. Combat boots completed here. Fusion's going to be starting with a lost artifact, which means he's looking for an early rod. Generally, if you do see that starting item along with the vampiric shroud, it means they're just rushing into the rod. But given that it is Kronos, he could buy his very own pendant named after himself. Of course, that Kronos pendant, get the extra little CDR and mana regeneration.
Let's talk Jerby here, though. Take a look at it. He's got the purple pot still running plus the red buff. That's a lot. That's 100 magical power at minute 4. Right. So if anybody gets hit with a spirit ball at this point, it should be a guaranteed kill. I mean, just watch as he's going to clear this camp with Weaken. The amount of damage this is going to do as Jerby completely whiffs that ability.
Well, the problem is that Jacob Malfoy is at 2,800 gold and Jerby's at 3,300. So because of the early start and how Jerby has played his cards here, he's about 500 gold ahead of his opponent in the lane, which is incredibly detrimental. Given the fact that Ra is a pseudo support / means more towards the utility side of the mages, so he needs levels and he needs items to make his damage really count. Which, if you're falling behind, you become more of a heal bot more than a damage bot. Whereas, Isis, if Isis scales, her damage gets out of control. Those long-range spirit balls can chunk very, very hard. If you end up picking up the late game Polynomicon, you get 100 to 0 people. The ultimate scales as well. Crazy.
I mean, the ultimate, if you can decipher that tooltip,
yeah,
it does a lot of damage.
You can figure out what it does.
It will do like 1,400, 1,500 damage.
Giant ring. What does it do?
I mean, the tooltip is serious, but Fusion OP will finish off his Doom Orb in the solo lane as the Kronos first stacking item, coming out about the same time as the Hunter's Devourer's Gauntlet, a little bit after, so good for him. Should be able to pull ahead of the Zhonghui a little bit here, depending on what Kiki decides to itemize into. We would expect probably Boots 3. Indeed, he will. So it'll be Shoes of the Magi versus Doom Orb. He will be deficient in damage a little bit later. But hold that thought on the left side as Weekend has made his way to the left side lane. That a 3v1 there momentarily, but unable to dive the tower, which will mean Incon's going to rotate back and put some pressure onto the mid lane here. And help Jerby out a bit, and steal some XP while he's out.
Though he's not really too worried about that pressure. We do see some harassment from Weaken going in, and one of the reasons why Mercury is so darn good is that poke from the Meiju look. Right side Wolfie gonna jump inside the jungle looking for that blue buff steal. Nice silence from Jerby plus the stun. Looking for the damage here. Wolfie's gonna drop down and fall to Kiki. Now looking for the kill here on top of Fusion. Good stun, but not gonna hit on both of them. There goes the time rift. Ultimate comes out from takes him out on Fusion. Looking for Jaco. Jaco disengaging here. The distance will be too much. Does Mercury have an ultimate? It looks like he does. Priming the ultimate land on top, not gonna land it though. The purification beads buys enough time, and Jaco gets on out. But that silence was God tier.
Oh, that silence was amazing, and then the President of Mind to throw the ultimate and the Spirit Ball and detonate them both at the same time to surprise Fusion there. And that's a tough death for Fusion because that resets his early stacks on Doom Orb, and he had about 2 waves in, and that's really the worst time to take the kill is when you are like getting to the point where you have enough damage to hold your lane. Oh, stunned out here, in some trouble. Is Elbow Chacha ultimate going to come out? Can he make it over the wall from here? I'm not sure that he can, but Snipe is going to fall back as they do see Wolfie coming in. Oh my goodness, he's going to go in and try to seal this away, but they reset it at the perfect time. Elbow Chacha now in some trouble. Ross Snipe coming through, doing a lot of damage to Weaken, who has to disengage at this point. Jerby going to try to follow up, but Incon is there. Weaken now the one trying to run. Wolfie dashing through. Does he have another slice of dice? Doesn't matter because Kiki or Nas is nah, and away goes Wolfie, and yet another kill for Snipe. 6-0, Thurst in some trouble.
Nonton could have joined that fight, but he was too busy trying to get his own kill there on Allied on the tier 1 tower. Of course, he will survive, so no rotation from that Nonton. Mid tower is now exposed here. Both Wolfie and Jaco going to make their attempt to push it on down. Right side, we do see Kiki returning to his lane, but overall, we do see a 2,000 gold lead for Snipe. The experience is a little more modest. It's around 700 experience overall in the lane, making sure that, Snipe gets a little bit of a lead here at 7 minutes. 6-0. Surprisingly enough, Bart, no kills on the board just yet for Thurst. They have yet to get a single player kill. Not only that, but Fusion is running 0-2 with a Doom Orb, so the stack's dropping hard. That's not a great item to have when you're not ahead.
Well, first death did come before he was even close to that item. It came in the first 30 seconds of the game, but he did get one kind of right in that, as I was talking about earlier, that kind of pivotal stacking time, you know, where you're like, okay, I'm about 20 in, and I'm about to take over this lane with my additional damage, and then you die and you're back down to 10. It's really tough at that point, and that's kind of where he is, stuck in that morass of having an underfarmed Doom Orb and trying to figure out what he can do with it. And honestly, if you're Snipe at this point, you're thinking, let's overload the left side of the map, and let's go ahead and find a pick and a Gold Fury, because you have such a built-up tank here already with his Iron Mail, the additional physical protection, plus his Hog 3. Looking across the board, El Brochacho still trying to get his Hog 3 online. He has 500 gold in hand, but have to go back to pick it up.
Honestly, if you're Snipe, you're thinking, we got this game on lock. If we can shut down Kronos, you can see rotation from Weekend with the ultimate available, looking to prime it up here. But, you know, realistically, look at it. You got Mercury, you got Isis, you got Ull, all very strong late-game characters. Junkwei as well has a big damage burst as he gets into late game. And you look across the way, and realistically, Kronos is the only hyper carry on that team.
Right
so interestingly enough,
Fusion just warded. He's going to see Weekend now, but he might die. No, not going to dive there.
They don't have to. I mean, they just got to keep him down. You see a lot of rotation from Weekend. Weekend actually pretty far behind experience. It's the lowest level in the game. Actually, got a decent amount of gold, but the experience is not going to be there.
Beautiful timing.
But as long as they just shut down Kronos, that's all they need.
Take a look at this orange buff timing. He was there right as it respawned. They had a great timer on it. They're going to steal that away from Wolfie, and Wolfie is going to be heated on the back of that.
Gab is staying on the front, looking for a fun rotation. Come from El Brochacho here. Kronos from the side lane and runtime over. Incon by himself, surrounded, nowhere to go. Pops the ultimate, gets a shockwave as well, but no help from the team. Mercury ultimate coming in. There goes the card from Kiki. The stun, the major look. Wolfie's definitely looking. The raw ultimate doesn't come out, but there goes the wing gust. Here comes rotation from Jacob Malfoy. Can he get inside of it? The silence coming on Brochacho. I saw them popping the heal. Can he get the distance? They've got him down, and it looks like Snipe does not want to play for the game here. And rotation coming out from Weekend. Weekend getting dropped down there as Nanton drops down from above. The stun, the hit, the kill. Kiki goes down. They put 3 kills on the board, one by one. The Gold Fury is available. Incon is still standing. He does have a tier 3 Hand of the Gods. There's only tier 2 across the way. They may not want to actually do this.
They're a little bit low. You do have a Hog
tier
3
3
and
Hog
a Hog
versus
2.
tier 2.
Uh-oh, but there's no blink on the Geb. He's a little bit early there. He's going to try to force the reset. Not going to make it. Incon has to make his way back in now. They haven't done the damage.
Brochacho taking way too much damage here. Knocked out. Does he have an ultimate?
There's the
He needs to get out. There goes the kill on Incon. They definitely have the secure now, but no fallout from Allied. Great job leashing that Gold Fury. That's exactly what they need to do. Now they can come back and kill it with impunity, but they do have Mercury and Isis on the way. I don't think they'll be able to get there in time. Mercury does not have an ultimate. Ull has an ultimate, of course, but that's more of a silly thing. As you look at the rotation there's Weekend jumping in.
Wow, close.
Whew.
That was close. He almost snagged it away from him, but it is going to be secured by Thurst, and that's a nice thing for them. It's going to draw them to parity and gold and give them the XP lead. So that early bad start, a race on the back of a 3v1 turning into a 4v1 trade and a Gold Fury. Thurst is back in this one, ladies and gentlemen, and Incontinentia does take its first spill of the game, ruining fantasy owners' hopes worldwide.
Look at the stats right now, man. Everyone just getting a lot of stats, especially if people had Kiki or Incon getting 3 points per kill there. Left side Alley is out of mana. He's going to go on home. Nanton going to take the same road here. Fusion has finished off his boots for penetration. Nanton to grab his boots as well. It looks like Jaco's going the way of Warlock Sash on Ra. Nothing too surprising there. Across the way, Junkwei going to be going for that Spirit of the Magus, stacking penetration. Oh, Mercury ultimate on top of El Brochacho, forcing the ultimate in response. He should be okay here. I don't think Snipe would want to engage on this one. Not only worth the engagement, possibly going to kill off this decoy here as the rotation comes from the jungle from Wolfie from the flank. Blue buff finally picked up by Fusion. Let's have a round of applause for finally getting his own buff here. Snipe has been in their jungle.
Yeah, the MP5 from Doom Orb helping him out a lot there in the absence of his blue buff.
Yeah, that's very true. It's a good point. That actually does fill the void of the lack of mana generation. Jerby has been going for a Bancroft's Talon to start off here, so a little bit of lifesteal on magic, plus more damage the lower you are, which works great with his ultimate, obviously. Scaling the ultimate to do more, and that's kind of how the ultimate works generally in standard play, is you try to stack it up as much as you can, dropping low on HP, and then popping it for a big burst of damage and big burst of healing, so that will synergize quite well.
Well, we are basically all squared at this point now. 7 kills to 4 in favor of Snipe, but they are down a little bit in gold and experience, about 3-digit numbers, which is nothing really to write home about. So, be looking for this game to really start breaking open here on the next engagement. You do have a counter ward over here on the left side, able to spot out this ward from Snipe. That can be countered really at any point. You see El Brochacho and Nanton rotating over to go ahead and pick that up. And now they'll be able to see quite a bit about these rotations. They do have a pretty distinct ward advantage at this point. So look for maybe some rotations from Wolfie to this left side now, knowing that they've gotten rid of some vision.
We can rotate over to the right side of the map. Again, very low on experience. Actually quite low on gold as well. 5,800 gold across the way, being beat out by a lot of players. Kiki going to go help with this blue buff, just make sure there's a rotation. But here comes a rotation left side. Wolfie dashing in, looking for the kill. Alberto dies already. Looking for the incon. There goes the damage on top. Searing Pain's going to come out, and incon drops as well. Nonton on a killing spree as they look to take this tower. I don't think Allied can defend this.
That's really where you're looking at. The shining light for Thurst is going to be Nonton at 3-1, moving along very, very well, finding a kill in his lane. I mean, all of the things that you're looking for from an Apollo. Take a look at the mid lane though, as trying to chase down is Kiki, Nod, Jerby, and Weekend, but they're not going to find it.
Done.
And honestly, they should have been looking for a trade on this mid tower or the solo lane, because now they're going to be caught in no man's land, stealing orange buffs, and while Apollo still pushes with impunity.
We see the left side tower. It's now being exposed by a Nonton. Allied doing the best he can to defend. Allied actually statistically the best hunter to play from behind. So, if you're going to be behind, you may as well be Allied. Damage coming out on Nonton, dropping about half HP. The harassment from Ull is pretty strong there. We can run into the jungle towards the mid lane as the mid camps have respawned here on the left side. The right side, they will be coming up shortly within the next 15 seconds or so.
Fusion ultimate was used.
Rewind.
Wow, a nice rewind there, actually turning him around that corner. Else it could have been trouble from Weekend on that rotation.
That's right. It's rough. Mid camp back up on the right side. Going to take this one down here. Alberto from behind. Going to find Weekend with a stun. Incon is there. Shield not used just yet. Forcing him away. Spirit ball up over the wall. Going to hit him for actually quite a lot of damage, considering how much defensive HP Alberto has. Jerby hitting pretty hard.
Yeah, Jerby. And then when he finishes that Bancroft's talent, even harder. And he has plenty of gold to do so now, and just waiting to head back to the base.
Heading back to the base. 3 players from Snipe in the mid lane, 2 players on the mid area, and then 3 now grouping up total. Gold Fairy's going to be respawning here in just about 80 seconds or so to see if they can actually get this objective down. Of course, the last one did go to Thurst, so Snipe looking to take this one away. The golden experience at this point is tied, Bart. This game is dead on even, and these teams are going head-to-head, and this, of course, means they're tied with 1 Gold Fury and 1 tower going the way of Thurst.
Right.
So statistically, Snipe is farming the map better without objectives.
That's right, and then looking for their answer on towers on the right side is Snipe. Zhonghui going to shove this wave in. Kronos might be able to make it there in time to save it, but it's going to be damn near gone by the time he gets there. No, Zhonghui's actually going to just shove it up there and recall. Wow, Kiki not feeling very adventurous today. Going to head back to the base and pick up Sprint 2. Okay.
Sprint 2 is strong.
Sprint 2 and his Bancroft's talent too. Okay, so it's decent timing for him, but now he's going to basically be in the same predicament as the Kronos here, where the Kronos is going to get a lot of free hits on this tower by the time he makes it there.
A lot of sentry wards purchased on the side of Snipe. We got one on the solo lane for Kiki, and Incon picking up a sentry ward as well. Tier 2 Blink picked up by Incon after finishing his sovereignty, so he's got that all stacked up for the aura. Look at the damage numbers right now. You can see the top damage on the side of Thurst goes to Nonton. A lot of harassment coming down there. Jacob Malfoy already dropping 6,200 healing for his team across the way. Highest damage pretty much tied between Allied and Kiki or not, but they have been involved in a lot of fights. Plus, Allied is harassing a lot in the long lane. Mid area is cleared out pretty effectively. The movement speed buff will be coming back shortly. Weekend knows it's coming back up, so he's kind of hanging out in the area. Fusion OP going to go straight into a demonic grip, looking to pick up that penetration a little bit early here. We've seen a little bit of separation in Kronos players recently in the way that they like getting more damage and then going attack speed, but looks like Fusion's going for the old school pickup for Kronos.
The in-hander. That demonic grip. I mean, it hurts real bad.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's really, really nasty. He's able to chase you down with the Doom Ward, but Zhonghui, a target that can probably deal with that. He pops his ultimate and kind of just kites away. He shouldn't die to this Kronos unless he's trying to play aggressive at this stage.
Got the sentry wards placed on the right side. Kiki making sure that his side of the map is not warded at all. He's holding on to the weakest tower you've ever seen there. I guess Weekend was in the lane. The Gold Fury
here we go.
I was just going to do it. Gold Fury started up on the left side of the map. Alberto is first on the scene, first responder here. Going to force away. Mercury also coming out. Going to grab Wolfie. There goes the silence from the Isis. Big ultimate from Geb, forcing them back here. Ice ultimate on the ground. Going to force him away. Up in the air, Alberto looking for some damage. Going to find Jerby. There goes the slow from Master's Will. Apollo lighting from above. The sky is raining down. Jerby's going to fall here. Jumping over. He's going to be Allied. There goes the damage. The Serenade is going to keep him in place. Allied going down as well. Jacob will fall to the damage to Kiki or nah. Wolfie going to keep him in place with that slow from Slice and Dice. Now the card on top. Can he get away? Jingu Bang. There goes the Time Rift. Can't get away from this one. The stun will find him. Kiki goes out. The Gold Fear is available. It's a 3-for-1 exchange in favor of Thurst. They seem to have the better team fight.
I mean, you saw a lot. You saw a Mercury ultimate there, a Geb ultimate, all of Jerby spells, and all of Allied spells there.
On Alberto. And then he reverted
and
that
basically
with his
did nothing. Like, I mean, they used so many ultimates in that fight, and usually when you see a Geb ultimate come out and hit that many players in traffic like that, you see them start to melt really fast. but there was just nothing there. There was no follow-up. Without Jerby, they have nothing if Kiki's not there. Like, and when Jerby dumped his abilities before the ultimate, doing damage to the single target, and wasn't able to get multiple hits, they did nothing in that fight. I mean, they probably did a grand total of 2,000 or 3,000 damage that entire fight.
Yeah, that's right. And that's a problem with having characters like Kronos and Sun Wukong in the same team, is that, you know, if you initiate on them first and try to put the damage into them, they're going to revert all the damage you did to them and all of a sudden resetting the fight while also consuming your cooldown. So Snipes, we have to be very careful on who they initiate on and why. And a lot of times we see some teams just revert back to the, hey, I'm going to attack what's in front of me, and if what's in front of you is a support, you need to go around it. You can't spend that much time damaging a support like that, or that team fight will go sour pretty quickly, as we did see what happened to Snipes. With another Gold Fury under the belt of Thurst, we're going to see 2,700 gold in the lead, 3,200 experience as well. Absolutely dominant performance so far. They also have that tower up. The rest of the tower is pretty weak here, but you know, the question is, can Snipe find a way to start winning these team fights?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you look over at Weekend here, and you got to think that maybe there's an itemization problem. I mean, you're going for that pub stomp style of build with an early Rage Blade, basically giving yourself so many crits, building very, very aggressively for the late stages of the game. But I mean, you can accomplish that same thing with a Deathbringer, and that's what we've seen certainly in this game so far has been that second item Deathbringer. But most often it's going to be the Golden Bow, and Weekend electing to go for Rage Blade here, and he just has no damage. I mean, he's just going to do basically nothing here. And maybe he's playing for more of that kind of run around the map and just toss out major looks and harass people style, but so far, not tremendously effective, sitting at 0-1. Of course, he does have the 6 assists to his name, but it didn't help him at this point.
It definitely would. The assists are a big thing, right? Because you get a lot of golden experience from it, allows you to level up a little bit, helps you overall. So it's important to be involved with that. Right lane looks like Kronos is getting in his face. Kiki being pushed back by Fusion. Left side, though, we do have Nemesis rotating over. Wolfie getting the ultimate on top of Weekend. Weekend's got nowhere to go. The stun! It's way too much. Now, Nantan jumping on top of Allied here, keeping in place. Great Serenade, buying time. Looking for the follow-up. The sprint will be activated here. Rotation from behind with Elbow Chacha. The shield will keep him alive for the time being. Jumping over with the Glory Bound. Chico Malfoy on top of Incon. Good bladed arrow there. If Elbow Chacha does have his ultimate to keep himself safe, he's gonna use it there.
Awkward.
I'm not really sure why.
Maybe he was expecting there to be a Spirit Ball or something following up and wanted to get that CC immunity out, and maybe just buy some time. You know, yeah, they maybe could have pushed on the back of that there. But take a look at the mid lane here. Fusion FP and Kiki are not going head-to-head. Fusion's ultimate is still active, though, so he shouldn't be too worried.
Well, he's got that rewind at least. That's definitely a good point. Gold Fury is not going to be up for another 2 minutes or so, so we'll see what they decide to do with their free time for the time being. And controlling the enemy jungle is a great thing to do. I mean, at this point, Snipe really can't contest it. Oh, they're going to try. Get blinking over. There goes the card on top. Overcharge has no ultimate available. There goes the silence coming out from Jerby. Jerby trying to keep the zone alive. Kiki in the front. Geb in the back. Incon trying to control the zone as well. Very slow and cautious play from Snipe, and Thurst just backs on out. I like the play.
I mean, they're down 4,000 gold and almost 5,000 experience now is Snipe after that 1,000 gold and experience lead in the first 30 seconds of the game. I mean, this has been a great performance so far by Ratchet on that front.
Definitely. They're keeping the gold lead alive. They're pushing the objective.
I mean, it looked bad for them. You had a snowballing support player that was just going to be a beast in the team fights, and they've just made a couple of bad decisions here.
Plus, they have a hyper carry, they have Isis, they have Ull. Everything was looking good. But here's the thing, right? When you have this kind of control in the mid stage and you have an Apollo, all of a sudden, it's never great to be on the losing team with the enemy team having an Apollo, because the Apollo can split push anything he wants while the team focuses on an objective. And you have to make this very difficult decision of, do I want to defend Fire Giant or do I want to let my Phoenix go? And if you commit to the Fire Giant and you don't win, you lose a Phoenix for no reason. And if you go back to defend the Phoenix and you lose the Fire Giant, you lose it for no reason. I mean, you have to be able to predict that and make sure positioning shuts down Nantan. And I'd like to see Nantan actually start to split push a little bit more here, as he really hasn't left this lane. He's just keeping the push active, splitting up Snipe, and Snipe is now pressured to, hey, win a team fight or lose something for it.
Right, yeah, you're right. I mean, I think I agree with you there. You know that Allied has to sit in this lane and farm because he's behind, and he doesn't have great mobility on the Uller in terms of joining fights. So Nantan should be able to push us up to the tier 2 and then go maybe try to push into the mid lane while the team forces action in the left side lane. And he will be able to force Jerby to stay in the mid lane, which is a much more important character to freeze out of position as a fight breaks out over the enemy hunter in Uller.
That's right. Another time we're going to see mid lane being pushed up here. Colonel's going to rotate over to the left side of his lane area. A lot of wards being placed on. So many wards from Snipe. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the map, it looks like, and a single sentry in front of the Gold Fury. We do have the Gold Fury respawning now. Thurst is going to rotate over there and try and control the area. Incon is spotting it out, but no sentry ward in his inventory to defend it. Looks like the only sentry ward has been placed on the right side. Made you look on Elbro Chacho. They need to be careful about putting a lot of damage to him. Yet again, they can't use cooldowns for this. Gold Fury gets leashed away. Thurst is going to back off from this one. It doesn't look like they have Wolfie or Fusion looking to be interested in this fight at all, but the Gold Fury area is still being contested.
It's tough. It's tough for Snipe. They haven't been winning these 5v5, so what do they do here? And you know, Thurst on the back of that being very, very smart and forcing 5v5s anytime an objective's up or they want to contest it. In fact, I'd like to see them 5-man into the mid tower as well here and just keep on forcing Snipe into these 5v5s where they've been so deficient.
Efficient indeed. Gonna clean this out here. Gold Fury started up, leashed again. We see Snipe kind of grouping up, looking for some kind of contest here. They know that they can't really be the aggressors. They don't really have the situation where they're ahead enough to run the pace. They have to play from, you know, a counter perspective. They have to say, if you start Gold Fury, we're going to counter-initiate. If you jump on us, we're going to counter-initiate. We can't really be driving the pace because if they don't have perfect initiation, they don't have the gold numbers to keep it going. I mean, look at the charts right now, 4,200 gold in favor of Thurst. Oh, Blink in the mid lane, looking for something, not going to find it. Fusion's way too fast at this point. We see Wolfie actually backing off through the jungle on the right side. The left mid camp will go the way of Thurst. The right one will be respawning shortly. I don't know if Snipe is even looking to take it right now. Has respawned now. Gold 3 back up again. Nanton just wants it.
Nanton just wants it. Oh, Incon. Good day, sir. He's going to get the ultimate off at least, but is going to go down there. Fusion up, he's going to take some damage for trouble. That's healed back up easily by Raw. Nanton over the top. He's going to find this knock-up onto several. No, just onto Kiki, but the Raw side coming through on the back of it. Perfect timing there. Kiki going to go ahead and activate the shell and his ultimate. Stare any of the protections up, but that is another ultimate used. That's 2 ultimates down, plus a tank, plus your, well, your mid laner there, your magic burst damage. It's going to be very tough for them to aggress into this, and in fact, it's going to just take Fusion OP to hold them out.
Oh man, I wonder if anyone had Nanton in their fantasy team. Doing so well right now, 4-1-3. He's top of the charts there in a lot of different regards. The Gold 3 is gone. Are they going to go for a Fire Giant? They're rushing. They're going, Bart. They're running over the map. Can they go for this? And there's only 3 players still remaining for Snipe. They know that Allied actually went home. They had a ward where he was backing. They know this is all going down. They're going to start the Fire Giant. Kiki has a good intuition, sees that they're over here. Going to try and get in the area, though. Gab, Incon is rushing. He's going full spaceship mode, trying to get over there. Here comes Weekend from behind. The damage is single targets me enough. They're going to get the Fire Giant. Weekend has to back off here. They have the control, and that right there is the definition of an expert call.
Yeah, and you know, I just don't get why Weekend didn't take that mid tower.
That's right.
I mean, he could have just easily taken the mid tower and pressured the tier 2. Instead, he leaves it to the wave to do it. Doesn't get the tier 1 in the mid lane there. Now he's going to go turn his attention to the left side lane, but just another misplay by Weekend there.
It's interesting. I mean, it seems like a lot of running around, and that's why Weekend is a little bit under-leveled in the the experience department. You see it across the way. He's pretty much tied for the next to be support as far as experience goes, whereas everyone else is pretty much beyond that point. I think he's just been roaming a little too much, and maybe nerves, maybe not really used to playing against Thurst. Thurst, a newer team in the top level. Of course, they had just reformed for like the 2nd time in the last 2 months, and so definitely a little bit different. But you've got a lot of players, and here's the thing about Thurst, right? A lot of these players have been playing together for a long time. You know that Wolfie, Nanton, Jacob Malfoy have been around, and they also have been good friends, hanging out and playing together, and seeing each other on the ranked ladders. Elbro Chacho, not really in the same kind of clique, but at the same time, Elbro Chacho really knows his role, and he's been playing nothing but jungle since he started playing Smite. And Fusion, of course, got a good fit to kind of plug in there and see if he can pick up the damage. And if you're running Chronos, regardless of what happens late game, you're going to be a dang monster.
Mm-hmm. So now we see the scramble to itemize for anti-heal. Incon looking to build into the Pestilence here, most likely, with his, what is this thing called? Talisman. And Divine Rune picked up on Kiki or not, but they do have 10 ability items, none of which are a slowing Creeping Curse, or a Creeping Curse, or anything that will prevent healing. So Ra will continue to run rampant here, and honestly, this would be a pretty good candidate game for him to pick up a round of Asclepius as that just like all-in support style item, right? Because they have nothing that can stop his healing at this point.
Well, the healing needs to be stopped. I mean, that's just it. I mean, Ra's got that kind of siege push. I mean, Jungkook's got healing as well, graded, and Ice has it, but it's more of a burst style rather than a sustained style. Rotation from Snipe. They got to make a good fight happen here. They're going to lose a Phoenix and possibly even the game. Spirit Ball coming out from Derby, trying to slow this fight. Here comes Initiation, slow 1 weaken. The card's going to do a little bit of damage to Wolfie here, but he's going to reflect it back with Retribution. Back on a Kiki. There's a stun from Elbro Chacho. Good initiation, rotation, Nemesis in the back, going to try and force this. Does have an ultimate available on Non-Ton Fusion, Jaco, and Elbrochacho here up in the air. Geb ultimate slows him down. Snipe's got initiation. Ice ultimate on the ground. Good Aegis going to buy some time. Good shield from Geb as well, going to avoid the damage from the Rob. The stun going to come out, going to kill off the decoy in the back. Kiki by himself. He's got nowhere to go. The damage is going to take him out there. Killing spree for Elbrochacho. There goes the force deck. They're going to try and pick off this. If they can end the game right here, right now, they're going to do it. Jerby dropping low. The slice and dice takes him out. Allied back into the well, but it's a 2 versus 4.
Really unfortunate fight there for Snipe, actually. Incon goes in and gets a nice stun placement, but he's going in just as the enemy is initiating from the boys on Thurst, and now they're going to be able to pick up a second Phoenix on the back of this. And also in that fight, Weekend gets in, gets out, but gets hit by a single Chronos ability and a crit from Apollo and goes down as well. Allied getting dove into the well. Down he goes. Thurst looking for their first victory and looking to give Snipe an early loss here in the Smite Pro League. Titan to fall, and ladies and gentlemen, it will be Thurst after that abysmal start, taking this game down and really just grabbing it away from Snipe at about that 10-minute mark.
I mean, that's the amazing part, right? And this is what you get double the credit for Thurst, because they started the game and they lost 3 kills in a row. And here's the thing. Kills before the minions get there aren't really that important as far as game effect, right? Because you're not really giving up as much gold, and you still have a chance to catch up. But the problem is that they gave a lot of gold to Incon, and so they're thinking, wow, Snipe's got a great start here. The support doesn't really have to be in the lane as long, won't be struggling, be able to pick up their gold gate items faster, which means it kind of compounds on itself. And then in the early game, you're going to see a lot of Geb in the mid lane presence, but the problem is they just didn't have a way to win the team fights. I mean, they got the ganks. I mean, obviously great play by Jerby to silence the dash on the right side on Wolfie. Rotation from Incon. They got some good ganks. They shut down the solo lane very heavily. Fusion had a hard time that whole game on the side of Thirst, but when it came down to team fights, they didn't stand a chance. I mean, the first team fight they ever had, they put all their cooldowns onto Elbrochacho. He rerounded it with his ultimate. They tried to kill Fusion, rerounded it with his ultimate. They didn't have a strategy to take down Thirst, and it didn't work.
Yeah, let's take a look here at the final plays of the game from the perspective of the captain, Wolfie, here, as he's going to try to make his way in. And you can see the Heavenly Agility was popped right as the Geb does go in, but the team was already engaged at that point, so he doesn't find that many important targets. Wolfie really the namesake there going down, so he's able to just reign free in the back line, burst through this Zhongkui, and then you'll see Mercury trying to get out of this fight will get hit by a single ability and a single shot from Non-Ton to go down as well, and then they're going to dive the well here to pick up Allied as well. So you can see just exactly how Thurst was able to break the base there versus Snipe and find a victory, and it just didn't come together for Snipe. They were consistently getting out-rotated by the Apollo, which is what you would expect running the Uller, but it really came down to that one fight at the Gold Fury where you see Incon and Weekend both use their ultimates, and the follow-up was there, like Jerby was there, and Zhongkui was rotating, and Uller was there, but they just didn't have any bursts. They couldn't get any targets low enough to force a disengage, and then Sun Wukong uses ultimate and raised everything, and then you had the raw Snipe coming on the back of it, and that was all she wrote.
It didn't seem like they had a plan as far as what target they wanted to go on. And kind of the same thing we saw earlier in the last match of the EU Pro League is the fact that, if you have this much sustain and kind of utility, you have to pick a target and go with it, because you can't spread the damage, because they'll either revert it, heal it, or have some kind of immunity that prevents them from taking damage in that regard. So you have to make sure that you're focusing on target number one, and also knowing what you're going to do after you win a fight, or if you're able to stop a fight, or maybe even tie a fight. But that all just came down to Thirst being able to shut down the objectives, shut down the team fights, and rotate quick enough. And even towards the end there, their team fights were flawless. They forced the pops of the cooldowns. They went back to the right players. Jerby was always under pressure. They couldn't, Allied couldn't get in there. And here's the thing, right? They kept coming into Non-Ton's lane, getting a kill and leaving, getting a kill and leaving. And all of a sudden, Allied, who's playing a character like Ull, who can't really move around as much, never really had a chance to ramp up because they kept keeping him in check.
That's the danger of the early farm onto the support, right? If he dies a bunch, then you're just feeding the enemy team all of that golden experience. But we will see how Thirst and Snipe do in the rest of their conquest to get into the World Championship. But for now, that will do it for this game. The next game coming up in just about 15 minutes, it's going to be Dignitas versus Cognitive Prime. Last is in the boys going up against Omega and the rest of Cognitive. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back in about 15 minutes with the start of that game.